right, well, hi everybody. Sorry, we got some technical difficulties today. Yeah, right, it's always something, yeah. We gotta readapt a little bit here, but first of all, thank you for having me. I love doing stuff like this. I really love doing stuff like this. Thank you, Sherry, for making this happen. I've tried to write music lately that, well, I thought that was a good sound, I guess. I've tried to write music lately that has a different outlook and different message than things that are out there right now. Sherry, I'm sure you can attest to this. There is a lot of music out there, especially a lot of Christian music out there right now. And some of it's good, and some of it I listen to on J.W. Pepper for about 5 seconds and then go to the next song. So I always try to make something with substance, no matter how we're trying to, no matter what we're trying to create, it has to have substance. We got it. The thing that I always start with now, which is different than I used to, but I always start with the words. Especially if a song's gonna have lyrics, we have to be able to connect to the words in some way. Sometimes that's a text that we've known for a long, long time, such as like the St. Francis of Assisi may be an instrument text. I'll use that as an example later, but I set that to a text. Sometimes it's something we have never heard before. Sometimes it's something brand new. So usually when it is something that is brand new, such as the 3 that I made for you guys, I use a couple different techniques. The first one is for You Belong, that's the first one we'll sing today, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. So You Belong, I wanted to do something that was memorable and very, very quick and easy to learn. Typically, anybody familiar with like Hillsong or, yeah, okay. The average song is between like 9 and 15 minutes long because it repeats and then repeats and then it repeats and then it repeats. While there's a beauty to that repetitiveness, because like you'll know the song by the end of it, after you hear it 500 times, a better way to construct that is to make a melody that is really easy to repeat and really easy to remember. And so I start with a text, and while I think about a lot of the text and stuff, whatever I'm doing while I'm either working out or running. And it was funny that I settled on You Belong because that's in the top of every Planet Fitness that I've ever been to. I couldn't use that for the cover because they would sue me. But yeah, it was really neat. It was a neat place to think about all this stuff. So I always start with the text. You belong. Say that with me. And you belong. So think about the cadence of how we say that. You belong. You belong. As simple as it is. Oh, piano turned off now. Should be back. There we go. Yep. The most simple do, you belong. So that's everything that we come back to throughout the whole song. I have to look at my. So we start with words. They're simple, they're easy to remember, and then we go to the melody. I usually try to like find a simple melody. It's always repeatable. Hopefully you'll catch on by the 3rd verse, and slowly fill in the gaps from there. I sit with the text for a while, sit with what I have with the text, sit with the melody for a while, and then see what comes to me. I think it's important to sit with something for a while. I used to try to write all my music like within a day, and it doesn't work. I had conversations with Sherry. I went and listened to other music and just kind of opened my eyes to what could be part of this song. And something that I try to do too that You guys know Spencer LaJoy pretty well. Spencer, I actually got this trick from Spencer. Spencer always puts an allusion or some kind of like tip of the cap to a well-known hymn or saying or something in their music. Brian, oh, there we go. Spencer's new album. Lilies, put some Kleenex in. Oh, this isn't going through, but this is the very first line of one of Spencer's new songs. I summoned her with lilies, put some Kleenex in the pew. Closed my eyes and hung Amazing Grace. So there's a tip of the cap to Amazing Grace, and then at the end of the song, we'll have no fewer days embracing than when we first began. That's the last line of verse 5 of Amazing Grace. Yeah, it's a really, really neat. I can't believe I clicked the exact right spot. Never do that again. So what I did in You Belong is, screen share again. It's a little more complicated than we're supposed to be. We're supposed to have the devices the other way. We're making it work. This last line right here. Choir, can we sing this part? Right, are we on earth? 1, 2, and go. We are. So, anybody know what hymn that is a tribute to? Nothing?
Yeah. Earth has no sorrow
that yes, that's the line. I'll see if somebody can get the title of it by the end. But yeah, that's the line that always stuck out to me in that hymn. Yeah. That just always stuck out to me. And not just does God help us heal from it, but God also feels our pain. I wanted to expand that a little bit to really grasp the depth of that. But for this song, I wanted this to be as easy, simple, and repetitive as can be. And this one to me spans more than just the walls of covenant. I'm hoping that this will be something that, even though you guys have your name on it, I'm hoping that this will be something that a lot of people can really grab onto. It has to be that perfect balance of it's simple, but yet there's depth to it that everybody can in some way bring their own story to. I think that's the beauty of good music. The second one is One and All. This is the last song that we're going to do today. This is a hymn that is very specific to covenant. Oh well, this is kind of small text. I don't know if you really see it at all, but we'll try. So I'll go verse by verse and then kind of explain a little bit. The first verse, we reflect on our rich history, how we lifted those made low, how we built this sacred temple up and made it like a home. Though we navigated hardship, all the wonders we recall, how we answered the call to serve one and all. So that's kind of, Sherry sent me a whole bunch of information about your church, your new mission statement, and that was kind of the thing that came out of everything is that in your past, in your present, and in your future, your mission, and all of our mission, is to serve one and all. And so I wanted to tie that to what your past was. Verse 2 will be what your present is, and then as we go, it's more about the future. Verse 2, here today we bear our witness, both in action and in song, planting seeds of hope, inclusion, grace, and God's great love of all. We reflect on all we're given, how we use it to be strong in God's mighty call to serve one and all. I think it's important to, in your witness and testament outside of the church, it's important to know your history of the church. both the church, capital C, and the church that you're actually in. Because your church has ties to your community. And I think it's important that we reflect that to other people. Verse 3, as we grow throughout the ages, as we face our fears with faith, in God's ongoing story, we are justified by grace. We will grow with friends and neighbors as we learn of God with awe. We will answer the call to serve one and all. I'll expand on this when I talk about the last piece, but that line, we will grow with friends and neighbors as we learn of God with awe. There's this cool dual reality of what we do in the church, that we get to celebrate all the cool things we've done in the past and all the people we've helped and all these things, but we also have to continually learn how best to do that in the modern world. I'm the music director at a Lutheran church, so I call that always reforming. It's a lot easier to phrase it there. But yeah, it's this idea of like, what did we do then? What are we doing now? What will we be doing later on? And even if it might be exactly the same, it might be vastly different, but that's our call to grow and learn how to do that effectively, both in the big church and here in Upper Arlington. Verse 4, armed with knowledge of our history and support from those around, charged with action from the gospel, charged with spreading love around. Though we never reach perfection, we will strive in deed and song. We will answer the call to serve one and all. That third line in each one of these is my favorite one in every verse. Though we never reach perfection, we will strive in deed and song. That's the hardest thing, I think, to grapple with as a church. Though we never reach perfection. We strive so much in everything that we do to be perfect at it. Believe me, I spent so many hours looking at these texts, and I appreciate Sherry being patient with me because she texts me, "Is it done?" Mostly. But I wanted it to be perfect so much, and I finally just had to let go and realize that like what I bring to the table will find meaning with you all, and you all will make this what it's supposed to be. That is something that I think that we all struggle with a lot, is not getting to that perfection and realizing that the beauty does not lie in that perfection. I promise I will hit at least one wrong note today, and the beauty does not, it's not hurt because of me maybe brushing an extra pedal with my big feet or brushing an extra note. So that's the one and all hymn. The other reason I wrote this one to be a little more specific to you guys, but also to, I do think this is somewhat repeatable as well, that other places can latch onto, but this is first and foremost about covenant. I also use a form that is a little bit more difficult than the first song. I'm going to give you a couple examples of some things that, well, for example, here's a really good, just a good quality hymn that I love. This melody. Everybody knows Holy Manna, right? It's such an easy and repeatable melody because it's 4 lines and 3 of them are exactly the same. The only one that's different is the 3rd line. And even that one just has a lot of repeated notes in it. So it's really easy for a congregation to learn and obtain. And so that's kind of what we go for when I write hymns that I want to latch on correctly or latch on quickly and be kind of that earworm that you sing to yourself throughout the week. Let me show you a couple examples of something that is not that and why I didn't write it, like this. This is setting 5 in the ELW. This is the Lamb of God that nobody has ever sung correctly. said. It's very, for those music people out there, it's very melismatic. There's a lot of notes for one line. You'll never remember that. I could ask you to redo that and you'll never remember it. But if I say, you will have "You Belong" in your head for the rest of the week, because it's easy to repeat. Here's another one. Does anybody know this hymn, the St. Patrick's Breastplate tune? I bind unto myself today. Anybody know that? There's a reason. First of all, this hymn is like 5 minutes long. So we go through all of this. I know it's kind of tough to see, but we're in G minor for the beginning. But nothing ever repeats. There's an A section, a B section, a C section, a D section, just of one verse, and it never repeats. And then we do it again for verse 2 and 3 that are different than verse 1. And then verse 4 is in a completely different key, and it's nothing to do with that. And we get the happy major ending, and then we go back to minor. I've never used this hymn, and I don't plan to. But so hymns like that, and a lot of hymns, it's really difficult for us to say this, but a lot of hymns are good and you know them because you've been doing them for like 50 years. That's about it. But to write music that is not like inclusive and not attainable for people that don't read music. I mean, this is a very musical church, mine is too, but that's not the case everywhere. And so putting music out there that is unattainable is kind of a disservice to what you're trying to do as a church. You're trying to be inclusive to everybody. You're trying to include everybody in, not just, you don't want them to just sit there and watch the whole time, but you want to take part in it. That's part of what coming to church is. And so the 3 songs that I wrote for you all, hopefully, maybe not the first time, but you'll be able to latch on to them pretty quickly. Choir, were they somewhat easy to learn? Yeah. 3 songs is a lot to tackle. And so, to learn them pretty quickly, hopefully, I was right then. I showed you that one. Oh, and the most famous AABA hymn ever. There's just one note that's different at the end. Other than that, the first 2 lines and the last line are exactly the same thing. And we've remembered it for a very, very, very long time. The last song that I want to talk about is Lord Be My Teacher. This is the choral anthem. And if every song could come to me as easy as this did, I would be a very rich man. I took a nap one day, and this was like the melody that just stuck in my head. I don't know why. That's never happened before, and I sure hope it happens a lot more. But I think it's because I've been mulling the idea that we, as a society, and this is not like specifically Covenant, but as a society, we think of church as a place that we go, we hear something comforting, and then we go eat or have coffee. And that's not really living up to the full potential. I know that's obviously not what you do. I mean, you're all at adult ed before worship. You want to learn. I think that learning is a part of worship that is really, really underutilized. Just like I was talking about in the previous the one and all hymn, how we have this duty to learn about what is not just what worked in the past, but think about what will work in the future. That involves that constant, like always reforming idea. That involves always being willing to see things outside of kind of your walls, so to speak. Not necessarily these church walls, but just the walls that we all put up for ourselves in our everyday life. And so I wanted another melody that would be really, really repeatable and would stick with you, that is that constant plea for God to be our teacher. That's difficult. Being taught requires, it gets harder as we get older, right? But like I've taught multiple different ages now, and I noticed that like the older I get and the older like people that I teach, that I've taught or been doing adult ed with, classes, whatever, it's a lot harder to break down those walls and predispositions of like, I already know everything. And especially because like I'm a 28-year-old talking to people that are potentially significantly older than me. There's a, when I started at Yosemite, there was a lady in my choir that was just shy of 4 times older than me. And so that's a really, it's easy to tune out in both ways. For me, it's easy to be like, oh, those old people don't know what they're talking about. And it's also easy for a lot of you to be like, what's this 28-year-old doing up here telling me what to do? It's really difficult to break down those walls, to be vulnerable and realize that you might not have thought of something that somebody else has. Or you might be able to, even if you disagree with somebody, you might be able to find just a little something that you use in your everyday life. And so that would be kind of my closing challenge in the takeaway of all these songs is never be afraid to learn. Never be afraid to reform what your predisposition is to things, because then a lot of times you find that you've missed something, and that's why we come to church, right? To be surrounded by like-minded people that can teach us something and help us grow in our faith. So I hope that strikes a chord with you, so to speak, and I hope you enjoy all the new music. Thank you so much.
I'm not worried about being picked up for the live stream, but I'm just going to ask, I'll talk here quickly at the end. Choir, do you mind heading on over with Nate? And Katie will sit at the piano so you can talk about the things you want to talk about. They're going to finish prepping for, is this what picks me up? Am I standing right in front of it? Dear God. Let's go over there. Better angle. So in your bulletin, there'll be a little insert. That's the word. I was up late with the children last night, and the insert has a little bit about Nate, his bio, but then the really cool thing I tried to get for everybody, he did like a cover for each song. So when people purchase it, buy it for their church, etc., it's covers that reflect what the song's about. So for instance, one of the covers has our labyrinth out there, The Lord Be My Teacher. Ooh. So you'll see the cover, you'll see exactly what people see when they buy it. And then what I did was I pulled the word page, the lyric page. So you can go through the lyrics and everything he talked about. So you can take that home and have it to actually go through. And then I just put like premiere date, that kind of, if you keep stuff, I keep stuff. But all the 3 pieces are in there, and they're labeled vocal solo, or the contemporary piece, the hymn, the SATB. It has cello and pans playing it today, which is really fun. And then on the back page, it has the fact that we're working on another commission for the spring. Remember the Spencer LaJoy Plowshare piece. So we are doing another Spencer piece that he's going to write for our choir, our church, that Someday You'll Wake Up Okay. And that piece you can reference then and listen on your computer. If you just look it up on YouTube, you can play it, or whatever you listen on, and then listen back through it. And he's already started working on it, I think. That's what I saw online.
Got the first verse done.
Yeah.
Well, it's a long way to go.
It's progress. That's progress. But so this is just a little something for you to take home. I'm going to just talk a little bit more if you can go on over. So This is, I don't know if it's appropriate or not, I don't care. I'm getting like that. So, Joel was going to talk today about the election. And I'm not, except for this. No matter who you are or what's happened, it's been like a devastating week emotionally. And one of the hardest things I had personally was seeing children hurting themselves, hearing about that kind of thing happening, and living through what felt like incredible tragedy all at once. And then the day after, just feeling like I shut down. And so I wanted to share, when we talked about Nate doing this today, and Joel's like, well, I guess I can just, for form, I'll just, bump what I was going to talk about. And one of the things that just keeps coming back to me, and every day I feel it's something coming back to my little brain, is no matter who you are or what side you're on politically, we're all on the same side emotionally and with our God and with our love and with what we believe. And when people talk about the fight continuing each and every day, I see that more as fiercely loving continuing every day. And Wednesday, I found myself unable to walk into school until I got a lovely text from Whitney, a soprano, who's like, you can do this, just go in. And then Thursday was a little easier. And then Friday, that fiercely love thing keeps coming back. And we have work here to do each and every day. And I think one of the most healing things anyone could ever do in a moment of crisis is work and literally love other people. And that's the way through. And I know nothing else except for I had to share that. And I feel like everything he wrote centers around that, because it centers around the work you've been doing as a church and we've been doing as a church. And so I just had to say those words because they've been just resting here. You know what I'm saying? But nothing changed in the sense of who you are, what you believe, who we are. And so we wake up and we do the work and we love. That's my little, that's what I'm doing. So that's all I have to give you. But I love you guys. Thank you for making this possible with Nate. He talks about being 28 and all that, but it takes the whole village to make the song new again and again, doesn't it? And what you've done by supporting this is you've given a hymn to hymnody, so other people will start adding it to their church. You've given a contemporary piece to hymnody, so people will add that to their church, and you've given an anthem that's inclusive, so people can choose that. And there's nothing more important than that. Okay? That's right. So you're doing the work, is what I'm saying. All right. Enjoy the service, and love you guys.